Hello everybody and welcome back to Random Vids. So, guess what I'm doing today? I am watching the new Mario Galaxy movie. I'm excited because I'm really curious to see how great the movie is going to be. I really like the first one a lot. So, and of course, I love Mario. So I'm about to see the second one later today. So in the theme of Mario, I decided for this week's video to talk about something Mario, but what shall it be? Well, it came to mind, last year I did a video ranking every single episode of the Super Mario Bros. 3 show, and I realized there's a show I haven't done yet, the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. I am not doing that show today, that show would take way too long, and I haven't seen any episode of it, and in my opinion, it's the weakest of the three. So, I decided to go with the other one, the Super Mario World Show. Super Mario Bros. World Show. So last year we talked about the Super Mario Bros. 3 show. This year we're talking about the Super Mario World show. In a way, it's very similar to the Super Mario Bros. 3 show, but it's also very different. I'd almost say it's better than it, but I'm not sure. There's not a lot of episodes. It's honestly a really short show. Well, they replaced Toad with Yoshi, and who doesn't love Yoshi? So that's great. Koopa and the Koopalings, of course, are back, but a lot of the enemies are different as well. Obviously, it's referencing the Super Mario World show, not the new Super Mario Bros. 3 show. Or not the new Super Mario Bros. 3 game, I should say. So, there's only like 12 episodes or something like that, so... I mean, there was another show that I was thinking about ranking today, but I just watched this show last night, so I want to... kind of, rewatch it a little bit and decide which shows are my favorite from this certain show that I'm talking about, and it's episodes that I'm probably gonna review on my second channel coming soon. So anyway, with that, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let's get to my absolute least favorite episode of the Super Mario Bros. World show, and that would be A Little Learning. Honestly, looking back on it, I don't think there's any episodes from the show that I generally dislike. They're just maybe not some of my favorites, and I think this one speaks true to that. So, what happens in this episode, you may ask? It's simple. It's an episode focused on the cave children learning school. Whoopee. And in this episode in particular, we see a lot of Yoshi and one of the main cave characters, Uktar, as his name is. So, he's like the main cave kid, I guess, that we see. So, he's fine and all. So, in this episode, for the Koopaling side of things, we get to see Hip and Hop, who is basically just Lemmy and Iggy. And I said this before last year, I'll say it again, but in this show, they are considered twins, as well as the youngest Koopalings of the show. So, okay. I guess there is a neat premise going on here, and I like the fact with Iggy and Lemmy, trying to be good students, or just curious about what school is. Honestly, I like that compared to just the usual we are bad guys, we do bad things type of story. And Hip and Hop feel like the type of characters who I could definitely see them going to school. What ruins the episode is not school itself, but just the fact that we don't see much of that from Hip and Hop. Instead, it's just them bullying Yoshi and Uktar throughout the whole episode instead. Or maybe not even that, but both of them just squabbling with each other. So the princess has to go out and stop their fightings all the time. This episode is fine. It's just a little bit weak in comparison. I do like King Koopa's response, though, to Hip and Hop going to school and learning citizenship. He shall not have that with any of his Koopalings, which I think is kind of funny. And King Koopa going to stop the day, or King Koopa going to stop them, is also really funny. We also don't really see Mario and Luigi, like, at all in this episode. We see them a bit here and there, but not a lot. And in fact, Luigi doesn't even speak at all. So, it's a lot of the princess, Yoshi and Uktar, as well as Hip and Hop. So, it's a fine episode, but it's nothing too crazy. It's nothing that you're going to jump out of your seats, getting super, really excited for. And I've never really gotten extremely excited for this episode, but it's a fine, average episode, I guess. Nothing too crazy. With that, let's move on to my second least favorite episode of the Mario World series, and that is the Yoshi Shuffle. What's episodes I don't care about in any TV show? Sports. I'm not a big sports person, and yeah, most of them are pretty hit or miss in my opinion, and they're usually pretty misses. But what is interesting about the Yoshi Shuffle? Well, Luigi makes a stone, and Mario says, "It's a stone, Luigi." I don't know, I've heard that meme a few places, so at least this is the episode birth of It's a Stone, Luigi. But other than that, there's nothing too crazy. They basically just play football. Luigi gets turned into an egg, so Mario and Yoshi have to save Luigi by playing football with the Koopalings as with Luigi the egg. Something that's kind of interesting about the Mario World series is there's some episodes that King Koopa is like either hardly in or just not in at all. Instead, the spotlight is really given to the Koopalings, which in a way is interesting and stuff, but King Koopa's more the comic relief opposed to the Koopalings are, but hey, I don't mind the change. So we see Roy, aka in this show it's Bully. Who else do we see? Big Mouth is in this episode, Morton, aka Morton, and Cheatsy / Larry. And I think that's about it for the Koopalings. They're the ones that are playing football against Mario and Yoshi using Luigi the egg, because Kamek turned Luigi into an egg, because why not? We do have a scene where King Koopa's just sleeping, so I guess that's something. But this episode, honestly, is mainly just them playing football. So it's nothing too crazy, but I don't know. It would almost be the worst of the series, but at least it doesn't feel like a cliche type of episode in a way, like A Little Learning does. I don't know. You know, this episode's fine, but at the end of the day, there's just episodes I like much better than this one. Speaking of which, let's move to an episode that's slightly better than this one, and that would be Rock TV. This episode I was always a little controversial about. On one hand, I do really like the premise, and I do think it can be funny at times. On the other hand, it also can be a little bit dry at times. Now, if you were asking my brother, this would probably be his least favorite episode from the show. I'm still not really sure why, but it is. But honestly, there is certain parts of this episode that is just fine. Like the whole middle section is just fine. They're just watching TV, and they're just doing this, okay, kind of funny Bowser or King Koopa exercise things. And I will say, King Koopa being the one to invent TVs is kind of funny, and how Mario and Luigi are just so oblivious in this episode to not know that that's King Koopa is just beyond me, and it almost seems kind of out of character for them, especially with how long they've been dealing with King Koopa at this point. But you know, it doesn't bug me that much. And then all the cave people go and capture Mario and Luigi to do some wrestling. Hey, look, it's the football episode all over again, another sport. But honestly, this one is kind of funny because because it's so unfairly balanced between them until, of course, they get power-ups involved, which is great, I guess. I mean, it makes it interesting. And there is parts of this episode, like I said, that are pretty interesting. And King Koopa's pretty funny in this one, too. But then there's other times that's like, this episode is fine. There's nothing, too crazy about it. Something that I forgot to mention is that every single episode, I believe, has some sort of song in it. And the ones we talked about so far, honestly, I like all the songs that are in this show. The Yoshi Shuffle one is just but the one in Rock TV and A Little Learning is pretty good. The music they use, because they always have a song that plays somewhere in the episode. But yeah, this episode isn't too crazy. And there's two other episodes that involve around inventing something that, in my opinion, are probably a little more interesting than this one. But like I said, I do like what it's going for. I just think it's done better in maybe some other episodes. Well, that's the first 3 episodes of the show. So I looked, and there's a total of 13 episodes, which means we already talked about 3, so you know what that means. It's time for top 10 already, with number 10 going to Party Line. Oh, so here's another episode about inventing something. But in this episode, it's about inventing the telephone. And what's actually interesting about this episode is King Koopa isn't in it at all, or his Koopalings. It's just kind of the problem of the phone lines themselves that becomes the main villain of this episode, I guess. So, obviously, they're here in the cave land, and telephones have not been invented yet. So Mario and Luigi try to find a way to invent telephones, mainly just in case they need to contact someone in an emergency. And it works really well at first. with everyone being able to hear one another. One of my favorite parts is when Mario and Luigi are trying to invent the telephone, and Luigi just plays so in character, where Mario is super excited that they finally got something invented, and Luigi gets upset that Mario put him on hold. It just seems so in character for Luigi in this series. It's hilarious. Although I will say, without King Koopa and honestly a real villain in this episode, it is a little more dry than some of the others. It's just the telephone wires eventually becoming out of control, so everyone gets wrapped up in everything, and that's basically the episode. And then they get too distracted by being on their phones, and eventually they just tear down all the phones, and everyone, I guess, will forget about it by the end of the episode. Yeah, okay. This is another very interesting yet strange, but also average episode. Nothing too crazy, but it is fine for what it is. It's probably only a smudge better than the Rock TV one, but not by much. So, yeah, nothing else I gotta say about this one. It's a fine enough episode. Let's move on to number 9, which is Gopher Bash. Man, this show is so nostalgic to me because I used to watch it so much as a kid, especially since this was, I mean, at the time, this one and the Mario Bros. 3 show were both easily my favorites of the three. I could take or leave the Super Mario Bros. Super show. To me, that show was just fine. Certain parts of it weren't bad, but man, the Mario Bros. 3 show and the Mario World show are definitely just way better made. Anyway, Gopher Bash. So, in this episode, Luigi is trying to teach everybody how to garden. Hey, is this kind of the reference? Is this kind of the thing that started the Luigi gardening thing, or what? Because I forget what it was, but I've seen online before about this Luigi gardening, like, ROM hack game or something silly like that. Maybe this is the episode that kind of originated some of that Luigi and gardening stuff. But it makes sense. So Luigi and Yoshi, I guess, are teaching the cave people how to do gardening. We've seen episodes like this before where they're teaching the cave people things, and honestly, they can be pretty interesting episodes. Now, the main Koopaling this episode is Cheatsy, aka Larry. And King Koopa's in it for like a minute, then he leaves and he doesn't return. You see, that's the thing. King Koopa is like hardly in half of these episodes, so okay. Although I will say, he isn't quite as funny in this show as he was in the Mario Bros. 3 show, but that's because we don't see him as much as we did in that show. I don't know. If there is a funny moment, then yeah, I'll definitely let you guys know. But so far, there hasn't been really too many like, the funniest King Koopa has been so far was the Rock TV episode. That one, or A Little Learning. But this one, he's only in it for like 1 minute, then he's gone. And Cheatsy, in my opinion, is just an average Koopaling. He doesn't bring anything too necessarily crazy to the table. Usually my favorite Koopaling, at least in the TV show, is probably Cutie Pie / Wendy, just because she can be hilarious. And I love her rivalry with, of course, King Koopa is hilarious. Her brattiness just works perfectly. But anyway, she's not in this episode. Cheatsy steals all the plants, so Luigi and Yoshi and Mario go and get them back. The cave people do have some trouble trying to grow the plants, but they eventually end up, I guess it eventually ends up working out, but then Cheatsy takes them all, so they have to go and take the plants back, while singing a song, of course, about Cheatsy, which I guess is kind of interesting. It's not as good as the Cutie Pie one, but, you know, it's fine. And that's probably how I feel about this episode. It's just fine. It's a good episode. Nothing too terribly crazy, but it's pretty good. Nothing else I gotta say, so let's move on to number 8, which is The Wheel Thing. Here's another one of these inventing type of episodes. There's, I think, 3 of them. The TV one, the telephone, and this one. Well, if these are the only 3, this is definitely the best of the 3. It's definitely the most interesting, and it has the most going for it, too. Like, they invent the wheels, or I guess Mario and Luigi notice how hard the cave people work just carrying everything. So they decide to invent the wheel, all while Ludwig, or Kooky von Koopa, overhears them, so he decides to invent his own wheels in this big giant contraption that will completely crush the whole, town and stuff. Okay, interesting. And he eventually ends up getting King Koopa to help him as well, so I guess that's cool. So King Koopa does actually appear in this episode, just the second half of it. For the cave people, however, um, just like the telephone and the TV one, the wheels kind of end up becoming a problem for them because they aren't really that well in driving. Yeah, they create actual cars for, the people, or for the cave people, I should say. But they're not really that great of driving, so they have turned on Mario and Luigi and banished them to a lava pit. Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, but um, anyway, the I guess the princess just wasn't around when they banished Mario and Luigi. Um, so then when King Koopa and Kooky end up in town, they got Mario and Luigi back to stop King Koopa and Kooky, which I think is a pretty story-wise is fine. I mean, the middle half of it is kind of boring, but I do like the first half of it and the last half of it when they're stopping Kooky and King Koopa, which I think is really funny. And I love how King Koopa's back to his goofy ways, just the whole time that he's on this contraption, between just falling off of it, and who knows what. Okay, so there is some funny parts in there, and the music, the song they use in this episode is pretty catchy too. So, yeah, great episode, and it makes top 8, I guess. So with that, let's move on to number 7, which is Send in the Clown. So here we have your typical circus episode, which, once again, are very hit or miss episodes depending on whatever show you watch. But this one, I think it's a hit, because the way they made this one is really great. So, they start off by playing tennis, so, okay. And meanwhile, Cutie Pie and Big Mouth are putting up these posters about the, a circus show from King Koopa. And of course the cave people, who are, not the brightest logs in the fire, go anyway. And apparently Mario, Luigi, the princess, and Yoshi also aren't the brightest logs in the fire in the show, because they also go, just to see what it's like. But honestly, probably best for them to go, because who knows what could have happened to the cave people without them. And that's exactly what happens, because they end up trapping them, and King Koopa manages to take the princess, while Mario's, defeating all of King Koopa's enemies. So, yeah. They end up trapping everyone in a cage, and Mario's about to do a dinosaur taming act, which works when the princess gives him, of course, a fire flower, and he ends up, freeing himself and freeing everyone else, including the princess. And they have their circus. And then the episode ends with them having a circus of their own, with Yoshi as the clown, because who doesn't love Yoshi? So of course this was a great, episode to have that. Well, it's just a funny episode overall. Like, yeah, Mario and Luigi and them are kind of stupid going to this, but in a way, good for them ongoing, because who knows what could have happened to the cave people if Mario and Luigi and gang weren't there. But this episode's funny too. I love the whole middle plot with anything with Big Mouth in it, because as his name implies, he does have a very big mouth. He will talk on and on and on about just nonsense stuff. So either King Koopa or someone else will try to shut him up, which is hilarious. And then Big Mouth just ends up doing all the different acts that are there, which is hilarious. And his top hat ends up on him. He ends up going through his top hat. There's just a lot of funny moments in this episode, which is what pushes it over the wheel thing, I think, for me. It's just the comedy in this episode. But there's definitely other episodes I do like better, but this one's definitely a really great one for sure. So with that, let's move on to number 6, I believe we're at. And that episode is King Scoopa Koopa. Oh man, I really like this episode. Unfortunately, it couldn't quite make top 5, but this is definitely a very interestingly, weirdly odd episode, but I really like it. So, King Koopa is serving everybody all this junk food, and it somehow turns them all into chickens? Huh? Tell me how that makes sense. Okay, well, it's been a minute since I've seen this episode, so maybe I'll understand it a little better, but basically the cave people eat food from King Koopa, and they turn into chickens. So, I guess whatever food King Koopa's serving them turns them into chickens. It gets so bad that even Yoshi and Luigi turn into chickens. Yeah. So, Mario and the princess have to then go in, stop King Koopa, and revert everybody, back to normal. Yeah, it's definitely a very strange episode. Everyone turned into chickens. Yeah, it's just so goofy and random. It's so random, but it's good. And it is a fun episode overall. And I do like the music that they play in this episode as well. I always liked it. I always do. So, it's a great episode. Nothing much I have to say about it. So, let's move on to number 5, which is The Night Before Cave Christmas. Ah, the Christmas special. Those episodes are always really good, no matter what show it is. It's just something always extra put into these episodes, and this one is no exception. So, in this episode, the cave people have never heard much about Christmas, I guess. So Mario dresses up as Santa Claus and gives all the cave people presents that they end up making. All the meanwhile, Uktar keeps trying to sneak in and tries to steal presents, or at least get a good look at what the presents look like. And a lot of this episode is just Uktar versus Yoshi as well, since they're squabbling and fighting in this episode. But it ain't just them. A lot of the other cave kids are fighting as well. A lot of the other cave people. So that's mainly why they decided to come up with Christmas. Is it that time of the year, or did they just decide, hey, let's have Christmas early? Not sure quite how that went. But okay. And in this episode, Bully and King Koopa end up stealing the presents away, so Mario and Yoshi have to get them back. Now, the only thing that I never got is, does Yoshi realize that that's Mario or not? Because we know that Uktar thinks it's Santa, but what about Yoshi? Yeah, Yoshi wasn't there when Mario put the costume on, so maybe he does think it's Santa Claus. But I don't know, or if Yoshi just doesn't care, or I don't know how that works. That always was very curious to me. Does Yoshi know that that's Mario, or does he actually think that that's Santa as well? So with a Christmassy themed song playing as they go and save Uktar, because Uktar ends up stolen away in the Christmas bag that King Koopa takes, which leads to a funny moment. Well, one of my funny moments, or one of my favorite funny moments of King Koopa in the show, where it reminds me of a moment from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, where Uktar gives King Koopa the present, and it ends up being a bomb inside and just explodes, which reminds me of a scene from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show where a bomb explodes on King Koopa. It's moments like this which are hilarious. But anyway, pretty good episode overall, and top 5 for me. So with that, let's move on to number 4, which is Ghosts R Us. Oh man, I always loved this episode as a kid just because it was really great, and it starred Yoshi. Who doesn't love Yoshi? So in this episode, they're walking around trying to find Uktar. This is one of the very first episodes that we see Uktar in. He's in the forest here, and Yoshi's kind of scared. They meet Kamek, who ends up taking Mario, Luigi, and the princess to his dungeon. Yoshi runs away in fear, but he ends up finding Uktar. So they have their little adventure together. And meanwhile, Mario, Luigi, and the princess are now captured in Kamek's castle, I guess. So it's up to Yoshi and Uktar to save Mario, Luigi, and the princess. The problem is, they're now, I guess, stuck in the dungeon. But they end up finding a magic key that takes them back to their house, I guess. I don't know, I forget what the town is called, but you get what I mean. It takes them back home, basically. So it's a great episode. It's one of those face your fear type episodes, but I always liked those type of episodes. And who doesn't love seeing Yoshi? And the music they used in this episode was once again pretty catchy as well. So great episode and top 5. With that, let's move on to number 3, which is Born to Ride. I wasn't really sure how to feel about this episode when I was younger, but now that I'm older, I really do like this episode a lot. So once again, it stars everyone's favorite dinosaur, Yoshi. And in this episode, he's starting to become a little bit of a handful to Mario and Luigi, who are trying to fix a sink with a very, very, very long pipe, as you can see in this title card. Yoshi keeps eating all the plumbing. So Mario and Luigi get upset, and they yell at Yoshi. And Yoshi gets upset and ends up running away. So he ends up finding this biker group full of I don't even know, lizards, dragons. I don't know, but yeah. Basically, who knows what half of these creatures even are. But he ends up running into a biker gang, and while a little nervous at first, he ends up growing to like them. Although the biker gang is really just tricking Yoshi and manipulating him into joining their group, only to not only have Yoshi do bad things to the cave people, but also to get Yoshi to get Mario and Luigi to meet them as well, only for them to, of course, capture Mario and Luigi to trade them in for gold coins for King Koopa. So once again, this is another episode King Koopa isn't in, but he is at least mentioned in. So Mario and Luigi, of course, bash the bikers for taking advantage of Yoshi, which Yoshi eventually ends up overhearing this, and he realizes what the bikers have done to Mario and Luigi. Obviously, he was mad at them, but it was just a little squabble, of course. So he doesn't ever want anything to happen to Mario and Luigi. So he ends up getting the princess to help him save Mario and Luigi, which I think is kind of a very interesting twist. If you remember the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, every single episode it felt like it was always Mario and Luigi saving the princess from King Koopa. Whereas this time it's the complete opposite, where the princess and Yoshi have to save Mario and Luigi, which is funny. With another okay song that plays, but I love the montage of them saving Mario and Luigi, and then them all riding away to go back home. And Yoshi isn't quite sure if he wants to give up, his bike and stuff, but realizes, his life with Mario and Luigi is much better than this one that the biker gang tried to get Yoshi into. It's such a great episode, and I love that it stars Yoshi. It's easily one of the best episodes. It's easily my third favorite of the Super Mario Bros. World Show. I think that's what it's called. Super Mario World Show. Something like that. Anyway, there's 2 episodes left. Which one do I like better than the other? It's tough because I really like both of them, but let's get to number 2. And that episode is Fire Sale. As a kid, this was my absolute favorite episode of the Mario World series, and I still really, really like it, but I think there's one episode that is just, it really is giving it a run for its money. But, man, Fire Sale. So not only does it star my favorite Koopaling in the TV show series, Cutie Pie Koopa, but this episode is just jam-packed full of a lot of hilarious moments. Also, it stars Yoshi again. Once again, who doesn't love Yoshi? Not even the people who think Yoshi is their favorite character still don't hate him. So it's simple. Cutie Pie is cold, so she wants fire to get warmed up. So they steal Mama Fire Plant, but the problem is then with all the fire, it starts melting Cutie Pie's ice palace. So, oops. So the episode just kind of ends with Cutie Pie frozen. She also has a turtle along with her, too. It's not supposed to be a Koopa Troopa because it's a different color, but who knows at this point. So there's a lot of hilarious things that happen between Cutie Pie demanding to be warm, or the turtle's shell constantly being thrown out from him, or he keeps getting thrown out from his own shell, which I think is hilarious. And I don't know, this is just a really great and memorable episode. There's so many moments of this episode that I really like and just always remembered, just because this was my favorite episode, and it still is up there as one of my absolute favorite episodes. So it was close between the two of them. I really liked this one, and I almost consider this being number 1. But oh yeah, and the music in this episode is really great too. The Cutie Pie song was just hilarious. Anyway, great episode. There's the one episode might be just a smudge better, but I don't know. This one's up there. So that means my favorite episode of the Super Mario World TV show is Mama Luigi. Honestly, I think this episode is the most iconic episode of the Mario World series, because the first episode that comes to people's minds when they think of this series is this episode, the Mama Luigi episode. Not only is it jam-packed full of funny, hilarious stuff, but it's just such an iconic one. So Luigi tells Yoshi the story about how they found Yoshi. Yeah, how did they find Yoshi? In the Mario Bros. Game, they just kind of hit a box and Yoshi comes out of it. But in this show, it's a little different. So, it's their first time in Dino Land, I guess, whatever you want to call it. And there's no Toad, obviously, so this is kind of like what happened after the Mario Bros. 3 show, I guess, if you want to say that. So they end up taking a vacation over here, but King Koopa managed to follow them and trap them all, I guess. Or just take the princess. Take the princess and Mario, I should say, whereas Luigi just kind of falls down a pit. And at the very, very bottom of this pit, he ends up bashing blocks, and that's when he found a Yoshi egg. Why is the Yoshi egg red? The world will never know. And that's when the birth of Yoshi happened. Super adorable. Anyway, so the first thing that comes out of Yoshi's mouth is Mama. So Luigi is now Mama Luigi, which of course this is the episode that spawned the iconic meme, "It's Mama Luigi to you." So anyway, they get out of the cave, but they end up in water. So this is where Yoshi's fear of water, I guess, starts. That's something I forgot to mention. Yoshi's afraid of water in this show. So, okay. So this might have been the fear of water where it started. So they end up on an island where Yoshi walks away from Luigi, and this is the first time we see how hungry Yoshi can get, and he starts just completely eating a bunch of caterpillars. Then Mario shows up, and Yoshi decides to eat Mario as well, which is, once again, one of the funniest parts of this episode. So, after a minute, he spits Mario back out again. So then they go to Koopa's castle to get the princess back. But they have to try to figure out how to do it, because they have no idea where the princess is, and they have Yoshi now. So once again, he wanders off, where we have the song of the episode start playing. So they try to hunt Yoshi down when they eventually get into like the main castle area, but Mario and Luigi, like, there's hardly anything in the castle because Yoshi's eating everything. So eventually when King Koopa finds out, he gets mad and gets his Mecha Koopas after them, but Yoshi eats all the Mecha Koopas. So this is King Koopa's first introduction to Yoshi as well, and that's when Luigi says his iconic line, "It's Mama Luigi." So King Koopa shows everyone the key to save the princess. Bad idea, because Yoshi then eats the key. So King Koopa is just so, distraught that he just runs away. He's like, "I will be back, bigger and stronger than ever." Nah, he doesn't say that, but he says that he will be back eventually. So Yoshi, who didn't actually swallow the key, and once again found another hidden keyhole that took them back to this town. I guess they live here now, or maybe they're just going on vacation and this was their hotel room. I'm not really sure. They did a lot while they were on this quote-unquote vacation, if you want to call it that. They found a dinosaur. Are they going to take that back to the Mushroom Kingdom? Whoever knows. So, yeah, this episode is great. And while it's mainly in the story of Luigi and Yoshi, we do see Mario, of course, the princess, King Koopa, none of the Koopalings, but King Koopa, and even some of the enemies as well, plus just the setting in general. So it's a really great episode. This and Fire Sale are they're easily, they could both be number one for me, honestly. But if I had to choose one, I would probably choose this one just by a smidge. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me ranking all the Super Mario World show episodes. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.